is the only kitty that only
First of 4 new giant balloons
we
this
had
year.
that quick money sort of, recreated on videotape.
Chic Pepper handkerchief.
Now that's what I call a big bird.
Show me the honey.
Evan Bear.
Was a little rough on this cat. Look at Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade's first 3-character
Barney
balloon
lives in your imagination.
on his 35th anniversary.
Sega.
And Miss Petula Pig.
No.
Something even worse
A
happened.
giant balloon crashes into a
And
streetlight.
so they would brace themselves, really hunker
Cat in the
down.
Hat balloon got caught up in
1997, strong winds blew this cat in the hat balloon into a street looking to avoid mistakes of holidays past.
Balloons will be able to fly in tomorrow's.
Balloons will be able to fly in tomorrow's.
Balloons will be able to fly in
So.
Time to investigate.
A giant balloon crashes into a streetlight. One woman is in.
The big Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade tomorrow in New York City, not so lucky. When winds gust up to 34 miles an hour, or when winds are sustained at 23 miles an hour, they can't fly those balloons. And that's about what we're forecasting for New York.
When you're going into your favorite subjects, you avoid the controversial words, because people may not like it. Well, not this one. Throughout the past 2 years and this year, I have talked about some of the most iconic characters that were giant balloons that were in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Ranging from the parade's beginnings with the balloons in 1927 to today. But, going through the library of characters, there's one infamous character that I avoided. Because, well, Macy's and their parade studio don't like to talk about it. Except for the news media. So I just censored the character. Until I got this in the mail. When I was about to finish the season finale. An anonymous letter was sent to me to talk about this character for a series of answers, for one particular question. Is he guilty? Or not guilty? Well, parade watchers, it's time to talk about one of the most iconic children's books characters of all time, from the world of Dr. Seuss, The Cat in the Hat. In order to begin this investigation, let's go back when he made his parade debut in 1994. With Random House Publishing for 94 and 97, and The Spirit for 95 and 96, as his sponsors. The design of the balloon shows the cat in the hat driving his Seuss mobile, with one of the holders on the side, carrying an umbrella, and carries a stack of books on the vehicle's back. With the help of the widow of Dr. Seuss, Audrey Geisel, for a supervision, she and Macy's Parade Studio managed to bring this most famous creation to life.
Wow, they were terrific, weren't they, Willard? Now, hurry!
New Jersey.
We've got a premiere for the first time in parade history, The Cat in the Hat, sponsored by Random House. Willard, you're looking kind of like the Cat in the Hat today.
That's because I'm a mouse in the house. Dankeschön. The Cat in the Hat is a smart feline indeed. And he's got an umbrella in case of rain, plenty of Dr. Seuss books to weather any storm. The cat's Seuss Macy, and that captain keeps him flying high, as you see. And his hat doesn't hurt either.
Well, we should mention the late Dr. Seuss's widow, Mrs. Audrey Geisel, worked hard to see this balloon come to life. She couldn't be with us today, but we wanted to say Happy Thanksgiving.
We love you, Audrey, and sorry you're not here next year, or we'll come to your house.
This is an amazing balloon, Willard. The Macy's artist created a flying scene, an actual sketch in the sky.
Looks to me like that the Cat in the Hat flew right off the pages and into the air.
That's right, Willard. I wonder how he feels about green eggs and ham on Turkey Day.
I think I'll let that one pass by.
A spectacular Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade live on NBC will return with a holiday performance by Grammy winner Natalie Cole.
Was that a ripoff on his right arm? Haha. Although his debut was an honor, but his big honor he had the following year, where he was named Macy's Holiday Ambassador of 1995. Which is a character released as a plush doll exclusive during the holiday season at Macy's stores across the country.
Willard, do you know the size of his chapeau?
Yes, the Hamburg of our tabby is bigger than a taxi, Gabby.
This crazy cat as big as that?
What will that Cat in the Hat do when all this hoopla is through?
Well, Cat will listen to the dial tone, then call on his sousaphone and tell us how he made it, how he had it made in the shade at Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Obviously, Dr. Seuss has nothing to worry about. Willard, from Jamestown, New York, came Lucille Ball, the 10,000 Maniacs, and now the Jamestown High School Red Raiders Marching Band, directed by Lou Duffus.
And the Red Raiders have the special honor of being Santa's escort this year, and they're up to the challenge. They're about to play a set of holiday tunes and that.
For 1996, he was getting ready to prepare his 40th anniversary in 1997.
Anyway, this seems to be the year for anniversaries. And celebrating his 40th, the Dr. Seuss superstar, the Cat in the Hat, and Esprit provides this fabulous balloon.
Is it true? What did you say? The Cat in the Hat is 40 today?
Ah, that's right, my dear. It's true. It's true. The Cat in the Hat is as old as you.
But wait, hold on. You're wrong, I fear. I won't turn 40 until next year. But thanks for telling the world, my dear.
Have no fear. I've got to get out of here. Hey, sorry about that. Hey, isn't he the cat? Meow. I mean, with his umbrella, 16-foot wide, bow tie, and when he goes to a meeting at his publisher's cat famous chapeau is 2 floors high. But that's another story.
Arr, arr, arr.
Story.
I get it. I get it.
Shoot the writer. Anyway. Writer's half shot now. Anyway. So long, Gig Cat. 1985, their performance in President Reagan's...
And that basically concludes the Cat in the Hat's history. Or should I say, in his good years. I mean, I don't have anything else to say. Right? Now let's talk about the big case. Is the Cat in the Hat guilty or innocent? And that answer comes from the year of 1997. November 27, 1997. A day that remarks some historical moments. It had the most Broadway musicals to perform with a total of 7. Not counting the Rockettes. But it did mark the last parades for the original Poker Man, a woman, legendary front row quiz Shari Lewis before her passing on August 2, 1998, and the last time Willard Scott would host the event. But what many fans know about that year was the wind condition of the giant balloons. On what many people call it, the Great Balloon Massacre of 1997. Out of all the giant balloons and falloons from that year, the one that was the luckiest was the Dr. Seuss character, the Grinch. Although made of cold air, is the only one that managed to survive from the winds. While the other falloon, Paddington Bear, was tipped over and almost got him deflated. And luckily got enough air to stand him back up. As for the helium balloons, 7 balloons survived. The recurring ones were Big Bird, despite of one of the alphabet balls was punctured, Garfield, with his tail being damaged overnight, Peter Rabbit, who almost got popped from a light pole near Columbus Circle, and Spider-Man. while 3 of the new ones, Arthur, minus his right arm and ear, Rugrats, the first 3-character balloon in the parade's history, and the Scandinavian bull Bumpy, with some damaged back legs and lost his toenails. Then there were 5 characters that had the most difficult with the wins. Sonic the Hedgehog was ripped apart before even starting the parade. The Pink Panther, at Times Square, kept knocking down some of the handlers on the ground, with one being unconscious, which was not confirmed by Macy's, and almost suffocated a woman and her daughter. That's why the NYPD had enough, and stabbed him down. Quick Bunny was delayed to start, probably due to its weight of the helium. When it finally got in, it took the position of the Barney balloon, while his left ear was being poked at a tree until it was deflated. Until Times Square again from a light pole, with his hat being torn apart. And Barney, who had to be behind the westward hoedown float since Quick Bunny took his spot, and once again, it was Times Square when his side was cut open from a different light pole. His accident would be a viral video in 2013. And then, you have the 2 original characters, Eben Bear, and another new balloon Miss Patchoula Pig, were removed from the parade at the starting line, due to a major accident. And that accident would be considered the worst accident in the parade history. Which now leads us to the supposed criminal of this case, the Cat in the Hat. "1997 was a big celebration year for the beloved Dr. Seuss character as it marked the book's 40th anniversary. Same as the Grinch. And he was being a good cat when he started. Despite of the high winds, Mother Nature was not going to stop him. Earlier at 72nd Street in Central Park West, a balloon lurched closely to a lamppost, 5 blocks close to the parade's starting line, which made some spectators a bit nervous.
And I said, you know, that really hit that post, and this looks a bit dangerous. So I actually moved. And sure enough, a half hour later, here comes the Cat in the Hat balloon, which is one of the larger ones.
When the Cat in the Hat reached that part of the route, the wind was now measured at 26 miles per hour, with a gust wind being 40 miles per hour, which created a wind tunnel effect for the cross street, as the handlers and pilots are doing the best they can, while the crowd cheers for their encouragement.
And so they would brace themselves, you know, really hunker down, and then the guy would give a series of short whistles, and they would run with the balloon. Well, it hit, and it sort of bounced off the lamppost, but then another gust of wind pushed it right back down on it, and that's when it just snapped and came down.
The hat of the balloon knocked down the loose lamppost right into the crowd, standing on the sidewalk.
Huge wind gust came down, hit that light post right on top, sprung a big leak. A big chunk about 4 feet long fell right down to the crowd.
First thing I did was cover my head and try to move out of the way, but it hit me on.
Pat Clem, the man who videotaped the accident through an interview with the New York Times, said, "You thought it was going to bounce off, but the second time it snapped, it was suspended for an instant, then it spiraled way down. The parade just stopped. There was a prolonged silence. Your thoughts go from happy, joyous Thanksgiving to prayers." As police and EMS rushed to help the injured people, 4 of them were hurt. 35-year-old Janet Keaton and a 39-year-old Jay Aykroyd suffered bruised cheeks. 2 others served head injuries. One of them being a 45-year-old woman named Maria Kalahesi. Her mother said from the New York Times article that her daughter was very excited to be going to the parade. She had stuffing that she was preparing and yams. I was supposed to cook the turkey and the sauce. But the one who got the worst experience was a 33-year-old woman named Kathy Karana, as her injuries were very serious, as she suffered a massive brain injury and suffered through a coma for 24 days. So severe that she almost died. She, along with Maria, were rushed to St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital Center. Later, Mayor Rudolph Giuliani went to the hospital to visit the family of the 2 women. In a press conference outside, Mayor Giuliani reacted to this, and what could happen to the future parades.
Obviously, they're very distraught, and they're praying, and they're hoping that it turns out all right. A statement released by Macy said, "We are especially concerned about the 2 people that are still being held in the hospital." High winds had posed problems for the handlers from the start, and parade officials were watching it.
Been a concern for hours, but we are prepared. We have a special plan for flying.
After the accident, Macy's officials said the decision was made that we could safely display the balloons in the parade if they were held close to the ground.
We'll see what happened here. If this is something that can be corrected in the future, we'll correct it. We'll find out what,
He also said, "We'll find out what happened. I don't think we know enough to answer that yet. Anytime there's an injury like this, it makes you feel very, very bad. At the same time, the parade has a long history. It's a beautiful parade. It accomplishes a great deal for young people and for the city. But what about the cat on the hat himself? What did the handlers do? While they were struggling to control him, his hat was deflated after the light fell. And after that, it did cause some balloons to be removed from the starting line. What did they do with the cat? He continued the parade route. It wasn't until he got to 36th Street where he was being tipped over, and that's why he was removed." As for the parade's broadcast on NBC, when a balloon does not reach Herald Square, NBC shows either a test flight footage if it's the balloon's debut, or show a previous year when the balloon was at Herald Square. For the cat in the hat, the footage that was used for him was 1994.
You guys all revved up and raring to go on his silly Seuss-mobile. It's that classic Dr. Seuss creation, the cat in the hat, but the cat kind of lost his hat earlier, so we're bringing this to you thanks to the wonders, once again, of videotape, furnished by Random House Children's Publishing. Not the videotape,
no,
the balloon.
The balloon, absolutely. What a hat this is. Taller than 2 Christmas trees. Cat's a spiffy one with his 16-foot bow tie, an armful of books, and that famous umbrella, although nobody ever rains on this character's parade.
Author Ted Geisel, a.k.a. Dr. Seuss, accepted a challenge when he created the Cat in the Hat to write a story using only 225 words from a first-grade word list. Well, he wrote it with 223.
Yeah, well, Zucker hired him, I guarantee you that. I mean, definitely less is more in the case of the good doctor's kid-sized masterpiece. The Caprice's cat is celebrating his 40th birthday this year. How about that?
Winona sings and Spider-Man webs his way down Broadway when the parade passes by here on NBC.
After the 1997 parade, negative news headlines were calling out Macy's and the people of New York City as stray cat, ill winds blow, havoc, and worst of all, she may not wake up. As well as with them getting a $385 million lawsuit. This is when Mayor Rudolph Giuliani set up a mayoral task force report to examine on what happened as well as with previous years.
A mayoral task force was set up to examine past procedures.
It surprised me how these balloons were operated. There had been times in the history of the parade where some of the handlers had a tough time holding the balloons. As big as they were, as strong as they might have been, these balloons did tend to sway too much left to right.
The city?
This is when they decided to make some new rules of the balloons, starting from the 1998 parade and onwards. Number 1, the NYPD would have the power of the balloons to see which will fly or not, and even ground the balloons if it's out of control. It also depends on the weather.
If the weather conditions really are too severe, then we just are not going to tolerate the balloons being flown at all.
Number 2, new technology by having 1 or 2 utility vehicles to help control them, as well as with communication.
We came up with a special system that's a combination John Deere, mover, aircraft technology in the attachment to the balloon, yachting technology in the attachment of the line to there with a capstan that can be controlled so that it can do all of the very, very, very unique things that we needed to do. Because you can't go to the store and say, hey, I need a Macy balloon anchor.
And now there would be new communications procedures, so the whole balloon crew could react instantly in case of emergency.
This year we have 12 balloons that are in the parade, and each one has their own frequency. The pilot, the 2 assistant pilots, and the captain all have headsets. So now, instantly, everyone around the balloon will hear what's going on.
Number 3, expand the number of balloon handlers from around 40 or 50 to around 90. And number 4, a size limit where balloons cannot be taller than 70 feet high. Which means they would retire some of the old ones. Like Bart Simpson, Woody Woodpecker, the Pink Panther, and especially, the Cat in the Hat. Which in total, he has made 4 appearances in the parade's history. And probably Macy's will not have him as a balloon again. So the event wouldn't be reminded. Except for the news media. Although these changes will be safe for the spectators at Macy's, that doesn't mean the story of the accident is not over yet. In 2001, the woman who nearly died from the Cat in the Hat's accident in the 1997 parade, Kathleen Karana, has reached a settlement with Macy's and the head officials of New York City by ending a lawsuit that she has lingered for nearly 3 years. She asked for $95 million in compensatory damages from the city, with an additional $300 million in punta damages from Macy's. Her lawyer, without minor details, said Mrs. Karana wants to thank everyone for their prayers and outpouring of support, and will continue to work in her recovery and raising her family. He also said that her suit was seeking compensation for her loss of income, medical expenses, permanent disfigurement, and impairment, and a lifetime of pain and suffering. A Macy's spokeswoman has said that Macy's did give their thoughts and prayers to her and other individuals that were injured from the Cat in the Hat. No official words came from the city of the lawsuit, but a member of the Special Insurance Council of the city said the city was not responsible for the claim. That she was suing the lamppost was owned by the Petrocelli Electric Company. According to another article of the New York Times about the lawsuit, it was never revealed that she won this or not. It was mentioned that it was resolved on the eve of a jury selection. A Macy's official confirmed that the agreement, but not release any details. Whether she won the lawsuit or not, as they keep the results private, there is still one suspect we have to look to see if he committed the crime or not. The Cat in the Hat. I call you to the stand. So we come into the moment to answer the question. Guilty. Or not guilty. Granted, I am no expert when it comes to law, so I am trying my best here with the research. Now we begin with the night before Christmas, when the balloons were being inflated. Many news press were asking the parade's executive producer Gene McFadden on whether they'll fly or not.
They're talking about gusty winds for Thanksgiving. Yep. But here's the good news. We're prepared. Inasmuch as I don't want to take the wind lightly, it is a challenge. And we'll probably sustain more damage than we normally would. But rain, sleet, or snow, this parade is ready to fly.
Spokesman for Macy's had to discuss with the NYPD of the possibility of removing the balloons from the parade, which is a rarity. During the early years of the parade, when the helium balloons first started in 1928, it was more of the opposite, where the balloons were controlling the handlers, and the only year that all the balloons were grounded due to extreme winds was 1971. However, the NYPD decided against to not do it, because they thought the wind was subside. Instead of what actually happened on that day. In the morning, they thought the winds were dying down. So, they basically said, it's a perfect day. Let them fly. Before the parade started, the chief designer of Macy's Parade Studio, Manfred Bulls, as he turns them as air sculptors, based on the wind, said, you can never tell which way the wind demons are going to get you. Another Macy's spokeswoman said, a lot of adjustments were made, which include inflating less helium on the balloons to reduce the weight, lower them to the ground so the wind can't catch them, and some additional handlers. So right now, the Cat in the Hat is not guilty. But what about his accident? Obviously, he knocked down the lamppost and injured 3 people and almost killed 1, but that's more handlers and the pilots of their controlling the winds. But there are 2 crimes that you would say the Cat in the Hat committed. Number 1, hit and run. And number 2, leaving the scene of an accident. However, it looked like the NYPD decided to let him continue instead of removing him for a little investigation. Yeah, they needed to get the ambulance at the scene, and the parade had to go on. But they couldn't make him removed at 71st Street, so based on this summary, it was the officials of New York City's fault, instead of the Cat. Yes! I finally make my summary. I find the Cat in the Hat is not guilty for the accident he occurred. in 1997. But New York City guilty for letting these balloons fly that year. As I stand with Kathleen, Maria, Janet, Jay, and all the other people that were injured from balloons, that they didn't check Mother Nature clearly to see if it is safe to fly. But try to make it safe for everyone, so no trouble happens again. And with that, it is time to end this episode. All I'll say is, whoever sent me this letter, you've got your answers you wanted, and I gave it to you. Also, Happy Christmas.